Hey guys, today's video is about KSPiV, and this head unit is massive. It's actually a 13.6-inch display. It has 4 GB of memory and an octa-core processor, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and it has a party trick, which I'll show you now. So who are KSPiV? Well, they make Android-based devices for cars, and they specialize in making Android head units which are built for specific types of cars. They have the dash trims and everything that they need to make these head units look factory in certain cars. So that's pretty cool. They also sell their stuff on Amazon, which means that you get the added benefit of the Amazon warranty, which is really, really cool. Now this particular head unit is special because it is a universal one. So that means that you can install it in any entry point in a car dashboard which is singled in or doubled in. And that is obviously what I'm going to be doing today. Now, as I usually say, I do not get paid to endorse any company or products, and that includes this KSPiV device. So my review of this head unit is going to be simply based on me getting it out of the box, setting it up and using it. Right, let's check it out. And look at this absolute mammoth of a screen size. Now, 14 inches is pretty much as big as they get when it comes to installing an aftermarket head unit. So this is as big as they get. Now, this one is of course designed to be horizontal like this and vertical like this, because it has the ability of switching from one to the other, which I will show you later when it's installed. And there's nothing really on this display other than the reset button, a capacitive touch button for home, and a microphone. And then if we have a look at it from the side here, you can't really see the mechanism in there. Now there does actually appear to be 2 latches here and here that can remove the screen. You can see practically the whole thing here is all a heatsink. So that's going to keep it nice and cool. It's actually quite heavy. And then on the back here, we have a standard ISO entry point and another entry point here. We have a bunch of other connectors which I'll go into in a minute. You can see that it has a Wi-Fi antenna already attached here. This is a GPS antenna FACRA input. You have a USB port, an FM antenna input here, a 3.5mm jack, which I assume is going to be for the external microphone. So also in the box we have this very colourful plug loom, which has video and audio input and a bunch of other wires. We have the ISO connector with some labelled ends. We have this loom which has 5 RCA pre-outs, so you've got front left and right, rear left and right, and the subwoofer. And we've got this loom which has all these video connectors, and what we have here is 2 which are video outs which go to rear monitors. We've got front video camera in, we've got an S video in, or RCA video input, and then you have a reverse camera input here. 2 USB ports to go with the one that's already on the back of it. We have an external microphone, we have a GPS antenna, some brackets, and they've actually included a reverse camera as well, which is really cool. Right, I need to see if I can get this thing in the Saab because it is so huge, but let's see what I can do. And here it is installed in the Saab 9.3, and yes, the elephant in the room is the fact that it is absolutely huge. And huge screens are always a little bit like Marmite. Some people love them, some people hate them. Personally, I love them because I have a 13.3 inch in my Saab 9.5 new generation, which I use all the time. So it's interesting to see such a big screen installed in the Saab 9.3. Now, a word on the fitting. Because it had an ISO connection on the back of this head unit, the Connects 2 loom that you use for these cars just literally plugs into the back of it. No faff whatsoever. There's a few wires that you need to connect for the steering wheel controls, but generally speaking, this was very much plug and play in this car, which is awesome. The only thing to mention in this particular car is that you have to remove the screen from the actual main unit itself so that you can put your vents back in. But the fact of the matter is, it fits in quite nicely. Now, before I show you everything about this particular device like I normally do, Let me show you what it does differently to every other head unit that I've ever tested. How awesome is that? And you can see I have changed the graphic on the center here to a Saab 9.3, which just adds to the kind of look of the whole thing. I really like this. So we'll start off as we usually do with the look and feel of the device. And yes, it's a very heavy unit, proper quality stuff, and the design of the bezel as well is very minimalistic, with a single capacitive touch button on the bottom here, which you can see glowing in red. And you can actually program that button to do various different actions on this head unit, which I'll show you later. The screen itself runs a resolution of 1080p, full HD thankfully, so you do get very sharp icons, and it does actually look very crisp to look at. Ultimately, the quality of this screen is very high, and you would expect it to be at the price point of this head unit. Now, looking at the dashboard whilst in vertical mode, we have a bunch of icons at the top here which we can slide. We have a calendar, a clock and a date, an image. Now this image can be changed to whatever you want. As you can see, I have a Saab 9.3 because I'm in a Saab 9.3 at the moment, and I think that really personalizes this and makes it look like it's meant to be in this car. This widget down here is for music, and it will play anything like local music, MP3 files on a USB stick, or Bluetooth music from your phone, which is what I actually have it connected to at the moment. And you can see that it has the track name here. I do wish that it did give a little bit more information about the music that was playing, because it's such a big presence on this screen. I would have liked to see album art, the artist and the track, and all of the other information as well, but it just shows you this. And the other thing about this particular widget is it does control Spotify. It will allow you to control your music tracks left and right, etc. But it doesn't actually show you anything else from Spotify, so you don't get any album art or any information on the music that's playing, which is a real unfortunate thing. And I think that would be a great update for this unit if they could show some information on the music that's playing, because it's so big on the screen. And then finally at the bottom here, we have the phone control, and you can see that Bluetooth is connected, your volume control is here, and you have your home and back buttons on the left hand side here as well. So that's very smart indeed. Now if we switch it around, and everything's exactly the same. You have your icons up here, time and date over here, calendar over here, your music widgets prominent on the screen in the center here, but they've added the altitude and a compass over here, which I think is a really nice feature. Now the fact that this is a Saab, which is obviously associated with aeroplanes, that's quite cool. But if you have a 4x4, then these kinds of details are also quite useful. And I have to say, because it's such a big unit and the fact that it does go vertical and horizontal, my old Jeep WJ, which was only a single DIN as well, this would have been fantastic at the top of the dashboard. A really nice thing. Right, let's talk about the icons that we have up here. So the navigation button can be set to any application that you want to use. I have it set to Waze. We'll look at the radio next. So this is what it looks like. Very simple. You have your frequency ranges down here, and you can automatically tune to the next radio station using these buttons down here. Once you've found stations, what you can do is you can manually save them into the presets, which you can see along the bottom here, by just pushing and holding this button, and that will save the frequency there. You are going to notice, of course, that there is no RDS, so you can't see the station name or any of the details. Unfortunately, that's not built into this radio app. Normally, the radio is full screen like this, but if you press this little button down here, you get some widgets to play with over here, and I think this is nice for when you're driving. Car Auto opens up Z-Link, and Z-Link is for Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which I'll show you later. Music is music that is locally installed, and as you can see, it has a very cool little graphic equalizer showing as you're listening to music as well. And there's some album art, and it gives you data based on the file name as well. So then if we go to movie, you can see that they've actually put a Fast and Furious 7 trailer on here, and we can actually see how good it is. Bluetooth gives you the ability to make phone calls and also listen to music. The music functionality is just here. If we scroll across, Explorer is a web browser. Settings I will show you in a moment. The app list is how you access all of the apps that are currently installed on the head unit, nice and simple. You get to choose one application that you can run from this top bar, which is quite annoying. They only give you the one button to be open a specific application. And as you can see, I've chosen Spotify. So this button will open Spotify. File Manager is how you manage your files. And then you finally have a camera for the front camera, which I do not have installed. Now, if we just twist this round again, you will see that it's slightly different when you're looking at different things. So the radio just looks completely different. The music looks like this. And when you're viewing your applications, they look like this. So you have two different systems when you're using this. Right, let me show you the settings. So the settings are completely unique to this particular device. They're not standard Android settings at all. They do give you lots of customizability. So for example, there is a navigation button up here, and this first item says navigate, and you can see that I've set it to open Waze when I hit that button, nice and easy. App Customize gives you the option to choose which app you want to appear up here. It does have one icon that you can set to open any app you want, and as you can see here, I've set it to Spotify. GPS monitor just shows you how many satellites this thing is currently connected to for satellite navigation, and there's various other options here which I'll go into later, but the one I will show you now is the touch key customizability, which allows you to change this little glowing red circle to do any particular thing you want from this massive list of tasks. So at the moment it's set to main menu, so it will open the home page when you press this button down here like this. So you've probably seen this little man floating around up here and you're wondering what it is. Well, that's the little robot that does the voice control. So if I touch this, open Spotify. And there we go. So it's open Spotify without me actually touching it. So there are some commands that this little man can understand, and it can do different things. Right, let's talk about the specification and the speed of this device. So this is based on the PX6. It has a Rockchip RK3399 8-core CPU, and it has 4 GB of RAM. So those specifications are pretty good, and it should mean that it's going to be fairly fast. So we're going to do our normal test now, and that is opening Spotify and Waze, and we're going to see how long those things take to load on this device. So we'll start with Spotify now. Yeah, so there we go. That was pretty fast actually. And you would expect it to be fast because it's a rather expensive unit. So that's quite good. Right, let's try Waze. And don't forget, once you've opened an app, you can just go back into it and it will be instantly there. You don't need to wait for it to load again because it's already saved to memory, so it's right there. So yeah, this is a pretty fast unit, and that is exactly what I would expect for the premium price point of this head unit. So let's talk about the features. Of course, it's an Android head unit, so you're going to get all the good stuff, like the ability to install Netflix or YouTube. And then you get things like the reverse camera, and this is a HD reverse camera signal as well, which is really, really great. But it also has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So let's have a look at those now. So I've got my trusty test iPhone here, which is already connected via Bluetooth. So all I should need to do is open Car Auto. That's Z-Link. Yeah, there we go. So it's connected wirelessly, completely wirelessly to Apple CarPlay here. And if I hit this button, I have access to all of the apps. And it's actually really quick to react as well. It's quite nice to see Apple CarPlay on such a big screen. Right, let's test Android Auto. For the Android Auto test, I normally use my Galaxy Z Fold 4. And it's already connected via Bluetooth to this head unit. So normally all I would need to do is hit this button up here for Car Auto, which opens Z-Link. And there should be some magic happening here, and unfortunately this does not work. It does not detect my phone. My phone isn't detecting that there's Android Auto nearby, and this is not detecting or connecting to my phone wirelessly, which is unfortunate. So the Android Auto wireless function isn't working, so I thought, okay, well, let's do it wired then. So I'm plugging my phone. You can see it's connected, it started charging, connected to the head unit, but again, it doesn't even detect that my phone is plugged in. Now this might have something to do with Android 12. I've heard some people saying that there are issues with Android Auto and Android 12. This phone is Android 12, but as you know, I test head units all the time, and it has always worked with every head unit that I have tested it with, but for some reason it is not working with this. Now at this point I could go on to a rant how I hate Android Auto and Apple CarPlay anyway, because it's completely pointless to use a streaming service like that when you can just literally install your music app and your navigation app directly on the head unit because it's an Android device. But it's there, it's meant to be working. I don't know why it's not working, so that is a down point, unfortunately, for this head unit. Right, let's talk about the car integration side of things. So, as I've already told you, this thing was actually very, very easy for me to install because connections on the back are standard ISO and they're all labeled really well. So it's literally almost plug and play, which is really, really great. Also, they make it pretty easy to just change the image of your car to make it look like it's meant to be in your car. In actual fact, I will show you how to do that now. You go to File Manager and just scroll to the bottom and you can see that there's something that said ZXW logo. And that is the image of my car, which I have on here. So you can just change that image to whatever car you want and it will stay there. Now, as you can see here, the steering wheel controls work absolutely perfectly, and the way that you set those up is by going to the settings, and then we scroll down to wheel settings, and you just basically press a button on here and then press the corresponding button on the steering wheel. And as you can see, I have my volume control and my next and backtrack set on the steering wheel here, which is really good. Now this unit does go much further than standard steering wheel settings. It has full advanced canvas integration, and that means climate controls. It detects your parking sensors, whether your doors are open. It will do everything on the screen of this head unit. I'm in an older car at the moment which doesn't have all of that modern canvas integration. If you was to install it in, for example, the Saab 9.5 new generation, then you would have all of those additional features on this head unit as well. So yes, if you have a modern car, this is really going to add a lot of features to the touch screen. You're going to have a lot of control over everything on the screen itself. Time to talk about the sound on this head unit, how good it is and the settings of it. So go into settings here, go to equalizer, and it's going to give you 6 different options. So strong bass, I believe, is the subwoofer control because it does have a separate subwoofer input, and when I'm making any changes on this, it's not really affecting anything in the car. So I can only surmise that this control is for if you have a separate aftermarket amplifier connected to the subwoofer input. And if that is the case, this is great because you have gain control and you also have frequency response control as well. So that's giving you good control over the subwoofer input of this vehicle. Next we have the 16 segment equalizer, so we tap that and you get all 16 bands of equalizer to change. This actually does look a lot better if we tilt the screen, so let's just tilt this. And that's a more traditional look of the equalizer and the different bars that you get to change. Balance allows you to control the individual volumes of each of the speakers in this car. Now I was expecting to see the usual fade and balance control, but no, if it's too loud on your side of the car and you want to hear the other side a little bit more, rather than moving the balance to the left, you would just reduce the volume of the right hand side using this system, which is fair enough. It's quite simple as well. Sound field gives you the ability to create delays in any of the speakers just to get that sound that you want, which again is great control. Sound presets just give you equalizer settings. Now I don't like any of these standard presets, which is why you've seen this, how I've set it now just sounds perfect to me, and you can see that I've had to knock it below 0 for some of these to get the proper sound. It does sound amazing now, like it really sounds really, really good. But my recommendation to you is not to use the presets included within this head unit because they are just simply not as good as you being able to tune it yourself, which you can do because it gives you the functionality to do that. And finally, the filter one here is your low and high pass filters. Again, really good control to have on this head unit. Clearly, they've created software to control the audio using the DSP chip installed in this head unit, so it does give you really, really good sound and loads of control to make sure that you can get exactly the sound that you want, which is fantastic. Right, let's give it some scores. I hope this video was useful for you. If I missed anything at all regarding this head unit, please do ask in the comments section below and I will do my best to get back to you. If there's any particular head unit that you'd like me to review on this channel, please just let me know and I will do my best. And of course, if you like this kind of content, please do subscribe to my channel because there will be a lot more coming up.